Alright, this is going to be kind of my review of the Snorkel Your ATV snorkel kit. They actually used our Rmax for testing and everything to develop the new product. They said it was actually pretty similar to the snorkel kits that they offered for the X2s and X4s. For your CVT, it's what comes back up here in the back. These hoses, these clear hoses are for your vent lines, but there's only two of these are actually active for the vent. They put the other two pretty much just for aesthetic reasons, so you didn't just have one with the lines going up and the other one with just nothing there. So the one is actually in use, the other one is just for looks. Get back in here. This is all the piping and everything. They're able to just take it straight up out of the CVT straight into it, so you're not having to run it all the way up to the front and everything. Then just silicone the hell out of it, make sure everything stays good. Really the reason we had them do this is just kind of for security purposes. I live in southern Oklahoma, and I had one time I had an old 450 Wolverine of the motorcycles or four-wheelers, and I almost drowned one at a local park here because it looked like a big puddle, and I'm like, I'll just go around the outside of it, and dang near dove the whole thing on in there. So we just kind of got it for insurance purposes, and hell, it looks cool. These two here come up for the intake. That there on the passenger side. It does create a little bit more noise on the inside, but honestly, you kind of get a grumble from it. I'll start it up here at the end of the video and try to let you see that. But I don't know, it's nothing that I complain about. The biggest pain with this is they added the secondary hose in the top here, so that way you just get more air in. And then that one there's just a rubber boot they clamp on, but they had to take it over top of the battery, and so that makes the battery a little bit more difficult to get a hold of. I've got these here. I'm going to put the accessory plugs on these wires here. I'm just waiting for them to come in. That's from a little cheapy light bar up there, and whip lights in the back, which turned out great. The biggest complaint, if you do the Yamaha windshield, down here at the bottom, when we took this in to do it, we didn't have the windshield yet, so they weren't able to really use it for measurements, but it gets too tight in here for the clamps, so we ended up just using zip ties. I'm eventually going to get some Velcro like what I got up here and put that on up there down here at the bottom to hold everything still. Probably do the zip ties as well, but we've actually ran it, had a ride a while back with this setup, and it did just fine. We had a little bit of vibration, so what I might do is take like some kind of rubber sealant or something up the bar there, like for like a window or something like that, and eliminate that vibrating. But yeah, I mean, we haven't had any issues with it. Like I said, we've had it out on a ride now, put probably 10 hours on the machine since we got the kit on there, and no issue, nothing backing out or anything. But yeah, that's my review of the Snorkel. Overall, the machine, I mean, we love it. We've we're over 20 hours now. I need to get my first service done, and I'm not one that's usually extremely rough on my stuff, but I definitely use it, as you can tell. Annie, go on. And yeah, we've got into some rough stuff. We had this side pretty well flat against a wall and found that rock in there that scuffed up my rim, but as you can see, all it did was scuff up my rim. It didn't tear up my plastics or anything like that. The way they got this designed, the way those tires stick out there, they take a lot of the brunt, and then you got your rock bars there too that help eat some of it up. Haven't had, like I said, haven't had any issues. Went anywhere and everywhere I've asked it to do. I've done some stuff that I even had my old Maverick Max with a 3-inch lift and 32-inch tires that I didn't really go up with it. And with this, it just, I don't know, it just gives me all the confidence in the world, the way it holds onto the ground and climbs and everything else like that. I pretty well just send her anywhere I wanted to send her. Just real quick deal on my light switches and everything like that. I just ran them up right here on the back side of my pipe. Just put some plastic conduit on there. You can kind of see it right there. And ran it up into the ceiling, and used one of my old bags from my X2 that we traded off. It works perfect up here in the roof. We had one back here, but of course when we got the pipes back there, it kind of eliminated that. So we're able to get that extra storage up there on the top, and ran all my wires and everything. Everything stays hidden up there and clean. One of these days I'll probably clean this up a little bit more and make it look a little bit better, but this is all quick stuff I was trying to do before a trip we were doing a while back. Still, the radio, did my install video on that. Radio still is doing good and sounds all right and everything, you know. Like, I'm still gonna eventually one of these days put some speaker pods up here and wire all that in together and get a little something extra. One thing I had to do with the whip lights, the way the roof comes off the backside here, try to get you the angle, but unless you get a mount that sticks it way out there, you sit there and your whip lights are going to rub against the roof. So what we did is we just put them in an X back there like that and angled them back just a little bit, so that way we get that gap in there, and still, like, when it wobbles it can hit over there, but it's not constantly going to have pressure against there and rub holes in my whip lights. So that's one thing. If you're going to look at getting whip lights or something, you need to figure out a mount position. I mean, you could always put them out here on the outside and stick them up, but with the kind of country I go through, like my rim over there, we get into some pretty tight situations, and I don't want to break anything off. I guess I'll go ahead and start it up, see if you can hear the difference on there. Hopefully you can hear that difference. You kind of get the grumble, but I mean, unless you get your ear right up there by it, the only time you honestly notice it is when you first start up. You can kind of hear it grumble a little bit, but then after that it levels out and you don't really hear it unless, like I said, you put your ear right up to it. But yeah, that's the Snorkel review. Like I said, they installed it and everything, so I don't have any tips or anything like that on the install process. They didn't say anything seemed too difficult or anything. If you're going to do it yourself, and like I said, with the mounting brackets, what you might do is move your hole over a little bit, so that way it gives you more room in there for your clamps. Now, that was just our biggest issue, is really close there, and I couldn't figure out a way to move this over without cutting the hole bigger, or having to run a 90-degree pipe here and a 90 over here, and then ended up having it more in my view. And the zip ties and Velcro for now are just kind of the best solution, instead of having to try to buy another windshield or something. I definitely didn't want to do that after paying for the factory one. If I get brave enough, what I might do is they make Velcro kits that you just have to cut a hole this way, you know, lengthwise, and take that Velcro around there and clamp that on there, and that would definitely hold it a lot better. But just kind of scary to cut into a $500 windshield like that. But yeah, I'm sure definitely more accessories to come. My wife definitely wants to get more pod lights. I'd like to get the brush guard, rear bumper, and I don't know, I'm satisfied so far with that light bar. Little 18-inch light bar does great, adds a lot more light to the road, and along with the LED headlights that are already stock in it, you know, I really like it. One of these days, probably put at least 32-inch tires on it. I like these tires and they did great, but like I said, on my old Can-Am I had the 32s, and I had a lot less scraping in there. That's one thing I love about Yamaha. Already having the metal skid plates helps me out a lot, but in the rocky terrain that we get into, I've had a few different spots where we get a little scrape and a little scratch, and you can hear a rubbing down there. And if I had just that little bit more clearance, I think I'd be good that way. So I'm sure in the future, maybe some 32-inch tires and maybe a little lift or something like that. Super ATV comes out with one or something. Got a little cheap storage box from Academy Sports, and keep all of our dry storage and med kit and everything like that in there, and strap that down with a decent sized cooler in the bed, and still have room for other things if we need, like a spare tire, or end up getting a spare tire or something. But I don't know, overall I love the machine. We do use it for farm work and move around 1,200 pound bales of hay with our hay dolly all the time, and haven't had any issues that way. Used the winch a couple times. My brother actually convinced him into getting the exact same unit, and that was one thing I was going to add, is with the Snorkel kit, I haven't seen any lack of performance issues. It's not like I saw like a great increase or anything like that, but my brother, he had the same exact unit, and we lined up side by side and did a little drag race, and we sat right there with each other the whole way. So haven't seen any issue with performance issues or anything like that. The winch, I feel like, is a decent size winch for the unit stock. My brother, he just went all out and plowed into a big hole at our last meetup, and buried his all the way up over the front hitch there, and I hooked up to the rear end of his unit and drug him out no problem. One thing I really like about these is the way they have the radiator and intercooler and everything set up. They've got good blockage with all this plastic here to keep your mud and everything out of there, because my brother, he's one that's always kind of doesn't have any fear to drop off into a hole. And he had a Can-Am as well before, and that one we'd always end up having radiator issues when he went off into a mud hole, getting that radiator clogged up. But as you can see, we went through some mud and stuff that day too, and I still haven't cleaned off in here at all, and I've got a little bit of dust up here, but that's it. I'm not packed with mud. My brother, he's the same way. He had mud probably up to at least here. I mean, he just had it packed up there, and didn't get anything in his radiator. We rode for another 5 or 6 hours after that, and never had any heating issues or anything like that. So yeah, a well-built machine. I think it's well worth the money, and it's definitely a best of both worlds. It's something we can use on the farm and move our hay around and haul feed and everything else, but also go out on the trails and with that 1000cc engine, have fun and keep up with all the big boys and the Can-Ams and turbo Polarises and everything else. But yeah, that's it. Any questions or anything, leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to reply. Thank you, guys.